Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Binyamin, Tjong-Alvares with the news from the global economy. Coming up, will Israel's cottage cheese uprising finally bear fruit? And Mexican fruit pickers bemoan the slave-like conditions they work in. First, the headlines. Asian stock markets dipped on Tuesday after the Reserve Bank of Australia cut interest rates in the face of slowing demand from China. The central bank cut its cash rate to an all-time low of 2% to buttress the economy against slowing mining investment. China stocks suffered their biggest loss in nearly 4 months as investors dumped shares ahead of a fresh wave of initial public offerings. The CSI 300 index of the largest listed companies in Shanghai and Shenzhen fell 4%, while the Shanghai Composite Index lost 4.1%. As Asian growth remains weak, a fresh round of easing may be around the corner, led by China and India in coming weeks. Brent crude oil futures slid towards $66 a barrel on Tuesday, falling from a 2015 high as the Saudi-led Arab alliance may stop bombing Yemen. The Saudi foreign minister said they're considering calling a temporary truce in said areas in Yemen to allow in humanitarian supplies. Brent crude oil futures fell from a 2015 high of $67.10 a barrel reached on Monday, after rising 40% from a 6-year low in January. A stronger U.S. dollar also weighed on oil, which is likely to remain steady as investors wait for data on U.S. commercial crude oil inventories later this week. Argentina will reduce income taxes for workers earning wages at the low end of the scale at which income is taxable, Economy Minister Axel Kicillof said. Income taxes will be cut for those who have a gross monthly income between $1,700 and $2,800. Kicillof said the reform will cost the government $673 million in yearly tax revenue. The tax cut is a key demand of labor unions as they negotiate yearly pay contracts, which are driven by inflation, currently at 25 to 30%.
The income tax is a progressive tax. Those who earn more pay it. Now what we're doing is making it more progressive for those who pay it. This 10% of those who earn less will pay less taxes.
UBS nearly doubled its first quarter earnings as higher levels of client activity and strong inflows of cash boosted its wealth management business. Switzerland's largest bank reported net profit of $2.1 billion, helped by its wealth management business's best performance since 2008. UBS in February completed a major transformation started in 2012, dramatically scaling back its investment bank and refocusing on wealth management. Pre-tax earnings from the wealth management business reached $1 billion as it attracted $15.4 billion of new client money. The cottage cheese uprising that rocked the streets of Tel Aviv in 2011 erupted from the fact that many staple foods in Israel are produced by a handful of monopolies. Many hope that the appointment of Moshe Kahlon as finance minister, who will break the cellular oligarchy, will do the same for the food industry.
In the summer of 2011, hundreds of thousands took to the streets of Israel to protest the high costs of living, from housing to food. It began in June of that year when a group of Orthodox Jews in a Tel Aviv suburb called for a boycott of cottage cheese sold by the Tnuva brand. The move came after a 35% increase in price over 2 years. The company is a heavy favorite, distributing 70% of the dairy products in Israel, but the accusation that summer was that they were a monopoly abusing their power. 4 years later, we spoke to one of the leaders of that protest movement.
The prices in general in Israel are very, very high. Not everybody has the privilege to go out and protest every day about how hard it is. But it's very important to continue to do everything so that the prices are the same as those of the OECD.
Israel is indeed at the bottom of the stack. According to a 2012 OECD report, 90% of dairy products are produced by just 3 companies. The same goes for soft drinks and concentrates. For mineral water, it's 70% and 83% for coffee. As well, a parliamentary inquiry found that food prices have increased 16% since 2007 versus 1.8% in other OECD member countries. We met one journalist who's focused on social issues, who explains that Israelis have been forced to change their habits.
An average family with 3 children can barely last 48 hours on a box of cereal. And with grain prices today, many can't afford to offer their children a bowl of cereal. It's a luxury now.
In terms of meat and fish, Israelis expect promotions, or they settle on consuming less of these products as they are nearly unaffordable.
Fish has become a luxury commodity too. Prices have increased tremendously. A frozen salmon fillet costs 70 shekels per kilo, which equals to about $18 US. And we have here 2 kilos, so it's $36.
The Israeli Consumer Council has suggested that there is a link between the rise of prices and the existence of monopolies.
If the only law they know is maximizing profits and acting in an unfair approach towards the consumers, they shouldn't be surprised that we raise the voice for expanding the price control.
The organization aims to put controls on prices, at least necessities, unless the situation changes, which some hope will come as the new finance minister, Moshe Kahlon, is expected to begin his tenure. He's been upfront about his anti-monopoly stance and took 8% of the vote in the March 17th national election. He already saw success with the breakup of the mobile phone monopoly market.
Usually finance ministers had some obligation because they were supported by big banks, by unions. So Kahlon came in without that. He doesn't have any kind of baggage, excess baggage on him.
The presumptive minister aims to bring down prices by opening the market to competition. It will be challenging in Israel's Kafkaesque bureaucracy, but the urgency is clear and present. According to the OECD, 31% of Israelis live below the poverty line, and 900,000 are malnourished.
And we stay in Israel, albeit on a more positive note, for a look at breakthroughs in progress in the startup nation with Channel 2 correspondent Noah Aron. Ms. Aron,
hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to start off with telling you a little bit about Israeli biomed technologies.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
So, did you know that 9 out of 10 people can't actually use their medical information correctly? I mean, not all of us know when exactly we should take our medication, how we should take it.
They may like get the piece of paper from the pharmacist.
Exactly right. I mean, what can we eat with it, what we can't. So the Israeli startup Telesofia is they enable doctors and healthcare providers to actually create branded videos for their patients.
Okay.
It's very easy to do. They just input the information in the system. They can tell the system, as you can see, what exactly the patient takes, how old is he or she, when did she take the medicine, and the system automatically creates a video that is sent to the patient and tells the patient what to do, when does she take the medicine and everything, and all that information. So it makes it easier to just take your medication. You remember it much better when you watch a video and not just when you're told by your.
Of course, you have to be tech savvy to actually use it, presumably.
Yeah, of course.
Most of us are these days.
No,
right?
yeah, and it can be sent by email, so that's very
better
easy.
than the piece of paper.
Exactly. So the second one is also dealing with video and biomed both at the same time, and that's Physimax. Physimax provides video analysis that can assess movement dysfunction. And what they do is they use the same technology that the Kinect uses. It allows you to walk by your computer, and the computer can actually assess and tell you if you're walking correctly. This is mostly relevant to athletes.
I was just going to say, this sounds for sports people more
exactly. So
but it can be used for regular people as well?
Of course, yeah. But I mean, they're directing it to athletes, of course, because they would usually go to a physiotherapist to see if they're doing something correctly or not. And what this company allows them to do is actually not to go to the physiotherapist anymore, and just do it in front of a computer. Okay. Both of these companies are going to present at the AITI Biomed Conference, which will take place in Israel next week.
Fantastic.
Now, you're probably wondering why we're surrounded by all
here?
Yeah, so these are actually car tattoos. I'm going to show you.
Car tattoos?
Yes, these are car tattoos, and it's very cool.
Because it's an engine, obviously. So you put it on your car, sort of like there's this big, bust in your car and you can see the engine inside?
Exactly, or you can see someone looking, you can see the eyes here, I really
like this one, actually.
This one is very cool with the fingers and the eyes, right? Someone is looking, just staring at you from the inside of your car.
Nice.
So these are created by a company called Car Tattoo. And these are two Israelis that have created this sort of platform which allows you to create these tattoos. You
create it, or you tell them what you want?
You can tell them what you want and tell them, how you want it to look like. You can just tell the program which car do you have, what color. And the cool thing about it is that it looks like a video game. I don't know if you've ever played GTA or Need for Speed. You know how you can design your car the way you want it to? So they created a platform that looks exactly like that allows you to create your own tattoos and, of course, to order the physical tattoos to your home. And the platform is not available yet. They're still working on it. They're trying to raise money through Indiegogo. Hopefully it will work out.
Noah, thanks so very much. Well, I hope to be able to take some of these home. Thanks, Noah Ron from Channel 2.
Thank you very much.
Around 80,000 fruit pickers in northwest Mexico who work in slave-like conditions for a pittance are starting to stand up for their rights. The following report tells their story as they demand better working conditions.
It's 5 in the morning. Like thousands of farm workers in the Mexican town of San Quintin, Paulino Jose starts a long day of labor. Though he has been working in the fields of Baja California state for over 3 decades, the 72-year-old fruit picker isn't retiring anytime soon. Like many of his peers, mostly indigenous men and women from the impoverished states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, he merely earns 150 pesos, a little more than $8 a day. Saving, he says, has never been an option.
Everything is expensive. If you buy 3 grocery bags, all the money is gone. If you drink 1 beer, then you really can't afford anything. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and still, I can't really make ends meet.
Every day, some 80,000 daily laborers in the region break their backs, sweating, swallowing dirt, and carrying heavy boxes of fruit to earn their meager salary. Most have no contract or social security. To receive a basic income of about $8, tomato pickers must bring back at least 700 kilos a day. If they manage to pick 3 tons of tomatoes, their fee can go up to $16. But strawberry pickers sometimes earn as little as $2 a day. Some say the job will kill them before they can stop.
You keep working until you die. A lot of those who came here are dead now, and I really think that's what's going to happen to me, because I don't even have enough money to go to the next town.
Last March, for the first time in Mexico, thousands of farm workers went on strike to demand better working conditions. Though they obtained a salary raise of 15%, it's still not enough to cover their living expenses. Now, workers are turning to the government after being stonewalled by the producers.
It is not as fair as it could be. But that is all we could do based on an analysis of what we need to do to preserve the business and avoid reaching a point where I have to tell them they can't work tomorrow because I can't pay them what they want to be paid.
Though they have started to raise their voices against what they call modern slavery, Mexico's farm workers have still a long road ahead before they can come out of misery.
We'll go back now to the world of innovation in Media Watch with Daniel Roth. Hi, Daniel.
How's it going?
Good. So, innovation?
So, the big story today, the big story this week, since last week, since Elon Musk took the stage, is Tesla. Tesla's Powerwall, to be exact.
Powerwall, okay.
This is a fancy word for a battery, but it's an awesome battery.
It's not the first of its kind necessarily.
It's
but
not.
What is special about it?
What's special about it is the applications. So it's not a new technology. That's something that's been misconceived, I think, a lot in the media. It's not new. It may be better. But what it is it's going to be applied to homes, businesses, and cars, and it's going to revolutionize the way we use power.
It essentially soaks up energy from the local grid, right? And
right.
It stores it. It could do it during during off-peak hours and use it during peak hours. Is that the main idea behind it, or is there something else?
There's two. One of them is storing energy off the grid. The other one is solar power, and this is the big revolution.
Right.
The big problem with solar power is we don't have great batteries that store that power. And this, for $3,500, you can store solar power in a way that we haven't seen yet. So again, it's not a new technology, but it's an affordable technology that is bringing a very old technology, the sun, into our homes, into our businesses, and into our cars.
Not, I mean, to be mean here, but presuming that you have solar panels, of course. I mean, this is not necessarily a deal breaker for, a game changer rather for global warming. But
it's not yet, but right now we're seeing a market that in 2012 was at about $200 million. By 2017, estimated to be $19 billion a year, this market. So you're talking about huge growth in solar powers and energy storage across the board.
Okay, well, Daniel Roth, thanks for joining us on that note.
Thanks.
That is the end of our Economy Magazine, your daily source for economic and financial reports at I-24 News. I'm Binyamin Tjong-Alvares. Thanks for joining us, and more on Economy tomorrow.